Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today at this webinar hosted by QuickFee and Knuula, really focusing on some of the basics and some of the fundamentals on building out great client satisfaction, end-to-end automation from engagement to work to work to cash workflow. And first of all, as everyone's coming in, we want to make sure that you're able to see us and chat with us and hear us well. So please, if you don't mind using the chat, if you would be able to put in where you're calling from, if you can hear us well and see us well. And if you have any questions throughout, please feel free to use the chat or the Q&A, and we can answer throughout this webinar, as well as we'll be able to Oh, there we go. All good. Thank you so much. As well as we'll be able to answer any questions we don't get to at the end of this and come back to you. And we can also set a lot more time to discuss how much more we can support you all. Um, great. Everyone looks like people are jumping in right now. So we'll give it another minute to make sure everyone's in. All right. Perfect. All right, thank you so much. So within this 1 hour live webinar, we're really going to be focusing again on how we're going to streamline client engagement activities, collect faster on AR for your accounting firm, and overall improvement of the client billing experience from end to end. So we're going to discuss a lot of thought leadership around this process and what we're seeing, some of the statistics that are out there, and you're going to end up learning tangible steps to address these common pain points in this process, some of the best practices for automating proposals, engagement letters, invoice delivery, payments, reconciliation into your firm's practice management solutions. We're also going to share with you kind of the framework on the QuickFee and Knuula integration, and you're also going to be able to see that in action. And then we're going to have tips for creating customized engagement letters at scale and solutions for accelerating AR and getting paid faster, and looking at different types of options that exist out there from card, ACH, and also our proprietary finance options that we'll dive in a little bit deeper. But first, I want to introduce who we have today on this presentation. Myself, Rafael Casas. I am the head of partnerships and alliances at QuickFee. And then we have Kathleen Grant, VP of product at QuickFee, and Jamie Peebles, founder of Knuula. And for those of you that may not have heard of Knuula, they were also an AICPA Accelerator winner, an alumni, which is a huge honor. So thank you both for being here. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Wave to
Glad
the
to be
crowd.
here.
I'm kidding. So we want to actually kind of set the stage with some of the data that exists out there, kind of the pulse of the firms, and some of the things that we're seeing from trends from the QuickFee side and the Knuula side, and just get a little bit of thought leadership. And when we talk about all of this, really, it's all under the umbrella of automation and client experience. In helping support accounting and law firms, as well as their under clients, which are generally small businesses. One thing you look at within automation in the accounting profession is adoption and efficiency. There was a CPA practice advisor. Their firms more profitable and efficient. Many firms using automation for report closing as an example. AR is a big part of that, is really helpful. But I wanted to kind of start off by getting some of your thoughts. Kathleen, you've been around the profession for a very long time.
Yeah.
And just some of the trends and some of the discussions that you're having with a lot of the firms that QuickFee works with, and wanted to give just some of your thought leadership on what you're seeing out there and what's important to a lot of these firms.
Yeah. Thanks, Rafael. Yeah, I do. One of the benefits is that I do get to talk to a lot of firms and get their really understand what their pain points, and there's some common themes that we've heard over and over. The first one is, they want more automation. Automation is huge, and it's not only just for payments or for engagement letters. It's like, how can I automate all of my workflows? So that's the first thing that we hear quite a bit, is how can we automate? One of the reasons why is because there's a lot of the staff shortage, getting help, getting people to do some of these tasks, and that's always been a problem. So being able to automate some of the tasks that we do on a day-to-day basis, that's big. The other thing is that we're hearing quite a bit is, we want to be able to not only go with one solution, they want to go with best in breed. So, if they want to go to best in breed for their engagement letters, they want to go best in breed for their payment solutions, they want best in breed for their practice management systems, and then to tie all of those back together. Kind of gone are the days are, just get this one big solution that does everything. And that's one of the things that we're fortunate here at QuickFee, and Knuula is the same way, is that, we're able to go deep with our functionality, but then we do get that integration. And then the last trend that I've seen is that it's all around AR. How can firms, they want to get paid. They want to get paid as fast as they can. They don't want to carry the AR. Everyone knows carrying AR is very expensive. As time goes on, the longer you carry your AR, the less likely that you're going to get 100% of it paid. So being able to get paid faster, even ahead of time, doing progress bills is the trend that we are seeing as well. So I think those are the three things that I've seen probably in the last 6 to 12 months.
Awesome. Thank you. And I think there's, on top of that, when you talk about kind of capacity issues and things like that, there's also from building out really effective automation, which is what QuickFee is really, working day and night to do, is a lot of the error reduction, and a lot of the automation usage all around to help the firm itself just be much more effective. Because if you're constantly, automating things that are not going to help with bad data, and you've got errors, getting created based off those types of automations that you out there, that's going to even put a bigger workload on the capacity and the workforce within your firms. And so that's why we always really work hard at QuickFee to make sure it's effective automation, not necessarily just efficiency, because you can certainly build out automation that isn't going to be effective for the firm and add value. And then Jamie, something else we wanted to talk about that's really, really important from client engagement, client experience, and it's not just the communication, but understanding what the overall expectation is from you and your clients. That's really helpful from a scope creep standpoint, and as well as billing and understanding what the deliverables are. But something that I wanted to kind of share is another CPA practice advisor report was, with regards to compliance and understanding, 85% of firms consider engagement letters crucial for compliance and client understanding, and 75% of clients feel more confident about the services after receiving, detailed proposals. And automation in proposals is really important as well. 45% of firms using software to automate the creation of engagement letters and proposals, enhancing their efficiency and accuracy. And you're a market leader in this space, and so I wanted to get your thought leadership and just kind of some of your expertise around what you're seeing within the last year since winning the accelerator, and kind of just your thoughts on what the future looks like.
Okay, there's a lot to touch on there, but I'd start with just kind of reminding people why are we even doing engagement letters is like a good place to start. And you kind of mentioned it, but it's easy to remember for everyone that these are a huge pain, but it's why are we doing them? One is compliance, and then two is communication. Those are the two big ones, and I think both of those are lost oftentimes. But the first thing is you need to do this for compliance purposes. Your insurance company wants you to do it, and all of that. And then on the communication side, that one's even more lost. It's this is a way for you to interface with your client, to actually explain what you're doing and help them understand it. And so there's different ways to do that. So definitely one of the trends that I'm seeing on our end is, how do you lay this out, what you're offering, in a nice way that your client can easily digest and they can easily look at and know what you're doing for them, and it's not lost in a bunch of legal language. That's definitely a trend right there. And then the other one that's kind of related to that is, how do you condense what you're doing for your client into that type of format? And so now if you have a client, this is probably pretty common for a lot of people even in this right now, where you have a client who has 20 business entities. And so in the past, you're either not sending them an engagement letter or you're sending them 20 engagement letters separately, which is just not great for that client. That's not helping them. That is letting you check the box on the compliance side of things, but your client now has to go sign 20 things. And so the idea that, or something that we're seeing a lot, is condensing that into one engagement letter, doing some kind of like chart or something that kind of lists out all the entities and also the services you're providing for them. And if you guys want to go a level deeper than that, you would do like the fees for each entity, which is great. And so now your client, instead of like looking through 20 engagement letters that are effectively meaningless to them because all they're doing is signing it, they could look at one that has this nice chart in an appendix, and it says, here's what we are doing for you. Now you're being a better provider for them, and because they can actually understand what you're doing. So that's more the communication piece. And then touching a little bit more on the compliance piece, Raphael had a few stats in there. I have some that I don't know if these are necessarily verified, and I can't exactly say the source because they didn't say that I could say the source, but I know that across the industry, it's reported that 40 to 50% of engagement letters are signed. And so like that's not good because it's your first line of defense. So any insurance carrier is going to tell you that the first thing in the priority of a claim against you is they want to know, did you send them any engagement letter? Like step one. So did you do that? Okay, if you've done that, that's helpful, and definitely it's going to help protect you a tiny little bit, more so than not doing it at all. And then after that, it's did they sign it? That's obviously important. But then it gets even deeper than that. Is the next priority is how well did you convey what you're doing? And so if you have that language in there, which I see in tons of engagement letters of, we will prepare your federal and state tax returns for 2023. So if that's your firm, you guys might want to take a look at that, because now if that client comes back and says, hey, you didn't do Idaho, and you say, well, I didn't know about Idaho, and then they say, well, you said state, you said our state returns, and you didn't specify that. There might be some issues there, or at least it's going to be something that's going to come up in claims or something like that. So on the priorities, it's, did you make an engagement letter at all? Did they sign it? And then how detailed were you in the scope of work? So if you are able to list out or do a chart or something like that, say, hey, here's the services we're offering. It's for these specific states, and it's in a way that the client can easily read it. That's important. So if you just kind of like sneak this into paragraphs or whatever, that's not easy for them to read. But if you can display this in a nice chart or whatever, even if the client does end up being confused, there's really like, that's on them. It was there. They could easily see that. And so if they saw that you mentioned Massachusetts and Maine, and then they come back in a month and say, you were supposed to do Idaho, you said, you can point to it and say, this is what we said we were going to do. So those are definitely some of the kind of the high level things that I see and we see and what we're talking about on our end.
Awesome. No, and that kind of ultimately helps with tons of change orders that you shouldn't have to have, right? So from scope creeping as well, and that's really important because that ultimately, I've seen coming from the professional services side, there's so many, oftentimes these clients, their scope creep comes up and they want X, Y, and Z, but that was never agreed upon, and it just becomes it becomes a stress on the relationship as you want to keep that client for a while. So it's really important to do that. And one thing I wanted to go back to with Kathleen with regards to automation adoption and data and single source, that's something you kind of touched on. I think that's something that we see quite a bit. And not all integrations are created equal, and so that's something that we really work hard on. And so kind of wanted to get some of your thoughts around that. I know you've worked with large practice management solutions as well, and so I think that's a trend that you kind of see of just consolidating, but the change management, those areas are quite difficult to navigate. So what are some of the tips that you can bring to mind?
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Everybody wants to have integration, they want to have automation, and that's great. And go again, use the best in breed software, but you have to think that there's got to be a source of truth somewhere. And so what is your source of truth? And in addition to that, if you do integrate different systems together, you still have to have a source of truth, but that information has to flow to the different software or to the different solutions that you've integrated with. And we see time and time again where we talk to firms and like, well, we integrated over here, but I have to go in and I enter in my clients here, then I have to enter my clients in a different spot. And you know, that could be actually end up being wasting more time than having the integration, you know, so you're wasting more times trying to clean up the data as opposed to, you know, having a really good tight integration. And I think that's where with when we were doing our different integrations, especially with Knuula, and you know, we have integrations with the different practice management systems as well. We're like, okay, wait a minute, you know, what is our source of truth, and how do we make sure and ensure that the information that's flowing is flowing to all the different systems, and so you're not having to do double entry on every single system. So, you know, it's great to have these integrations, but you have to make sure when you're thinking about your integrations that where your data is it the same in all the different systems. So client is a perfect example. We have all the same clients. They all have to go to the different systems. So, you know, where's your source of truth and making sure that they do integrate. Now, that's one of the things that we've done with the integration with Knuula, with QuickFee, Knuula, and the different practice management systems, because most people have practice management systems. And it's like, okay, our practice management system is the source of truth when it comes to clients, but then that flows from the practice management system to QuickFee, and then we also share it with Knuula. So you're going to have one set of clients or one set of data, and that's the source of truth that flows to the different systems. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's very important. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a smart, you know, recommendation. A lot of
Mhm.
like Jason's stats, a lot of folks say, well, where do we start? You know, where do you start to
Exactly.
build our practice management solution is actually probably the ideal place to start as your single source, and then build your tech stack, hop on top of that.
Mhm.
You know, ultimately, you know, there's also other ancillary benefits of the integration and what we'll kind of show a little bit later on. But you know, ultimately, you want the accounting firms, the CPAs to have their clients be successful, and part of that as well as, you know, we've touched upon it with cash flow, and that's where, you know, QuickFee Finance is another option. I think we had a light bulb moment with Jamie in Dallas when we were talking about you know, how we position the QuickFee Finance that's different than anything out on the market. So I don't know if Kathleen, you want to touch upon that a little bit, and then you know, these are all just kind of touch points before we kind of see all this stuff in action. But
Yeah. Yeah, on the QuickFee Finance, this is this is really interesting. Everybody knows about ACH and card. This is great. You know, that's there's a lot of people out there that offer ACH and cards, so and we do too. But one of the things that we also offer is a QuickFee Finance, which is a proprietary solution that we have here at QuickFee, and it bolts in. So when he calls the payments, it actually shows up as one of the payment options as well. So you could pay with card, ACH, or finance. But finance is really allowing your clients to finance their invoice or finance their amount over a certain amount of time, whether it's 3, 6, 9, or 12 months. And it really helps with cash flow, because you're going to have clients that are saying, well, you know what, I would love to pay ahead of time, or I would love to pay you your fee, but you know, for whatever reason, they may have a cash flow issue, and they stall on paying on their invoice. And so then they have the AR grows on their account, right? And so offering a finance plan frees up them with their cash flow, because they can finance it over a certain amount of time. But then on our side, on the firm side, they're able to get their money within a few days, and that's the full amount. So it's a win-win situation, and that's just another payment option that we offer, obviously, here at QuickFee. But the nice thing is it flows within that integration that we have with Knuula as well. So when you do your engagement letters, and we're going to see this here in a few minutes with the demo, when you send out your engagement letter, your clients, if they have to pay a retainer up front, one of the payment options is to be able to finance over 3, 6, 9, or 12 months. So it's all that integration. We offer the full payment amount or full payment types with all our integrations.
Yeah, that's the point of it all, the frictionless finance. And what's also unique about that is, it's not just the accounts receivable side of the house. We have a lot of firms that also strategically use it as a sales tool to win new clients and upsell. A lot of the
Yeah,
firms that
absolutely.
QuickFee has with startups, to helping because startups, certainly are cash strapped, bootstrapped, and need that cash flow. But yeah, I definitely wanted us to move into now kind of what does that workflow look like, Kathleen? And then
Yep.
you and Jamie can kind of work through and we can see it in action as well. But if anyone has any questions, please feel free to throw it in the chat. But I'm going to give it over to Kathleen and kind of show what this framework
Absolutely.
looks like, how it was built out, the thought process behind it, and then kind of see it in live.
Yeah, that'll be great. Claire, could you bring up that slide for us real quick? So what we're going to do before we actually go into a demo, I want to show you the workflow, the total workflow, so you understand the different components. So you'll notice here, and it looks very complicated on the screen, but let's just start off with QuickFee. You'll see QuickFee kind of in the middle, and this is the QuickFee database. To the left, you have your practice management system. So there's different practice management systems that we integrate with. And then up to the top there, it says Knuula. So what you see here is there is a integration where we integrate with the practice management system. We grab, again, the practice management system is your source of truth. So that's where we would grab the clients, the contacts. If you're doing invoices out of your practice management system, that's where we would suck that information out. Above with Knuula, because your source of truth is your practice management system with your clients and contacts, during implementation, we will share the clients with Knuula so that now you have your practice management system, QuickFee, and Knuula sharing the same information. And that's key because you have to keep it in sync. So you have that almost like a three-way integration in a way. So what happens is if with QuickFee, if you prepare the engagement letter, so let's start off with the engagement letter. That's when you do an onboarding of your new client. You send them an engagement letter. You're saying, okay, I'm going to do your audit for next year or your tax return or whatever. You send them the engagement letter, which has a payment link on it. Once the client goes and they click that link, it will send them to the QuickFee payment portal where they can decide, okay, I want to pay my retainer, my client on account, either with ACH card or they want to finance it. Once that gets paid, it goes into it takes that and it goes to two different places. It goes back to Knuula to say, okay, I've paid my amount back to the Knuula and to the engagement. So now that engagement letter is saying, okay, yes, I did receive that money. But it also, because it gets settled to you, and if you do have a practice management system that's integrated with QuickFee, that payment will actually go back into the practice management system. So if you have, and it'll probably go on client on account. If you don't have an invoice, if it does have an invoice, it'll go against your invoice. So it reconciles that payment back into Knuula as well as into the practice management system. So there's different automations that we do here with both Knuula and with QuickFee. So you do get your clients and the firm will get an email, a payment email saying that it has been paid, whether it's from the engagement letter or for an invoice with the practice management system. The other nice thing is that because we do have that information on the client, we do have the information on the amount, your client, their information gets pre-populated in the payment field. So they get their information, it's pre-populated, they select their payment, and then they move on. So again, it removes the barriers for your clients to pay on their engagement letter or on their invoice. And then lastly, the automated reconciliation. It's great to get your payment in. You get a payment a notification, you get your settlement, everything's great. You have to do something with it. So we automate that going back into whether it's against the engagement letter or back into the practice management system. So there's a lot of automation that's involved in here. I could spend another hour just on this, but I'm going to hand it over to Jamie so that you can go ahead and actually show them, let's go ahead and do an engagement letter and see how it flows through. So what Jamie's going to do is start off with this and go and move it around.
And thank you, Kathleen. I appreciate it. Once we switch that over to Jamie, a couple of things, like the automated cash application piece is something you normally see in ERPs. And so this is something that QuickFee's been able to really do well. And it really saves a lot of time and accuracy. And as we move into the engagement side of the house with Jamie, Jamie, something you and I have talked about many times, and I could probably show this, but a lot of solutions out there, we're not doing the bulk editing or bulk distribution really well. And that's something that you guys, we're the first ones to do it extremely well. And the customization of everything, of the engagements at bulk is, really important. So looking forward to you showing a little bit about that as well. And so with that, we'll give it over to you. And if you want to share your screen here, if you're able to. There we go.
Are you guys seeing the right thing?
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay, good. Let's make sure. Yes, you guys are seeing Susan here, Pam, all of that. Yes. Oh, I am doing the wrong screen. That's why. Oh, okay. This works. Sorry, guys. One sec. This works. Okay. All right. So on the Knuula side of things, yes, what Raphael said about kind of the customization at scale. So like, if you think about any software you guys have ever used, you have two things. You either have minimal customization and doing stuff in bulk, or you have a lot of customization, but it's super manual and it's one at a time. So those are your basic options for anything that you've ever done. So Knuula, on the other hand, is both. So it is customization and huge scale. Just to make sure I'm showing you guys the right thing, so I don't dive too deep in this, but are you seeing me do stuff right now, Kathleen?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just want to make sure I didn't go, 5 minutes into this and you guys didn't see anything happening. Okay, so this is Knuula. And to get everybody familiar with it, we are a database that produces documents. So you have a database of clients, that data flows into documents. And so along the lines of what Kathleen was talking about, a lot of this comes down to having your information, your client information, flow from one system to another system to another system. And so that's what Knuula does on our side. Our side is the documents and the engagement letters and things like that. And then we also we flow that information into QuickFee and we utilize them for the payment aspects of things. And then that information flows back to us. So that's the high level of kind of what's going on and why it works. So I'm doing a tax example real quick just to show you guys. I have a handful of tax clients. Some have multiple entities. Some only have one entity. Some have different tax forms. And then I want to specifically talk about fees. So sometimes we have very specific fees that we have for various clients, and we want to list those out or whatever we want to do. We want to put that in the engagement letter. So what Knuula allows you to do is take very different clients and different client situations, and you can just go ahead and prepare an engagement letter. So I'm going to do this one that utilizes QuickFee. And so I have 4 different clients. All of them are super different from one another. I'm going to take this one for now. So this is a client who has just general tax forms that we're preparing for one business versus this client who has these tax forms for a bunch of entities that are included in an appendix. So we have 2 very different situations. So if I go down to this appendix real quick, you'll see here are those entities that we are preparing tax forms for. And now for your most complicated client, the one that pays you the most money also is this one, where we have multiple entities, different forms for every single entity and different fees. So this gets back to what I was kind of saying earlier about like, this is a communication tool, not only a compliance tool. And then now let's go into the QuickFee items. So here we go. In the engagement letter, in this one, for example, we have something for a retainer payment or an advance payment. So that's this right here. So this part, when we send it out to the client, this is where QuickFee comes in. And I can go ahead and show you guys that. And you can also preview some of this as well. So If I go to the top, I can see kind of what it's going to look like for the client. Hey, they have an initial payment of $1,500. This client has an initial payment of $3,000. And from here, you can just go ahead and create them and send them for e-signature. So I'm done. So that's your whole engagement letter process. We just created 4 completely different engagement letters, different client situations, and we include something so that they can actually pay a retainer in them. Kathleen, do you want me to go ahead and show that part now?
Yeah, you can go ahead. I think one of the things I'd love to call out here that, when Jamie first showed me this, it's about a year ago now, but one of the things that really stuck out in my mind with this, Jamie, is that, you have a bunch of clients, they all have different attributes to their engagement letters, but you're able to put them all together really quickly and send them out in bulk instead of having to do one by one because they're all different. And I think that's a huge benefit of Knuula.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for elaborating on that as well, because I see it every day, so I forget what it looks like. So yeah, I mean, that's what we're really good at, is customization at scale. So scale being 500 clients that have different forms and different fees and all of that. And you need to be able to do this in a seamless way. So that's what Knuula provides. So here's that engagement letter. I'm the client right now. And we set this one up so they don't even have to sign it. They're actually going to basically pay in order to confirm that they finished this one. You could also have them sign it. Let's see, what does it do for the signature? Oh, cool. So it's automatically doing their signature. Excellent. So here is the QuickFee side. So a client can just come in and go complete payment. It's going to pull up this little checkout window. Are we seeing this? Yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. Oh, I know we've missed before. So client just goes ahead and clicks that, and this is going to take them to QuickFee. It should normally take them to the QuickFee checkout window. I think I might have something that's blocking it, hopefully, or maybe not.
But essentially, this is where they would go to the payment portal that all, most of you are QuickFee customers, and it would just go to the payment portal where they're able to select whether they pay with ACH card or they want to finance it.
That is correct. And so once they do that, because I'm not going to actually go pay $3,000 while we're all sitting here on this demo. I'm going to go ahead and log back into my own real quick, so you guys can see that part of it.
Yes.
So then on the client, or back in my account, we can kind of check the status of everything. I'm going to go ahead and mark this one as paid so you guys can see the after effect of that. I guess I can't change the status on this, but normally you'd go ahead and this would be paid automatically, but I'm not going to go pay $3,000 today. And then it would also throw into this column the amount that was actually paid. So that gets tracked on here. That flows back to QuickFee as well, and that flows back to your practice management solution. And the last thing I want to go ahead and show you guys also, so you have these clients that I just prepared all of this for. We sent them an engagement letter that includes a retainer payment. Obviously, we have additional fees that we need them to pay at a later point in time. So you can go ahead and do something like an invoice as well. So same data flowing into another type of document, and then this checkout process is also done through QuickFee. So if I go with Pam, so here were her fees. Here's the total fee. She already paid $3,000, so it's going to adjust that, and now she owes $18,000. And so if I click send on this, it's now going to send them this really nice custom invoice for this specific client, and they can go ahead and pay that. I just want to show that one final item so you guys can get an idea of how this information flows from an engagement letter to an invoice to QuickFee and so on.
I love it. Awesome. So there's a two-part question that came in. I think Parsha.
Awesome.
Nope. I think
Each client. Oh, am I still there? Am I
Yeah,
here?
we lost you there for a second.
Oh,
that's okay.
It's all right. So there's a two-part question that came in, and part of it's for you, Kathleen, the other part's for Jamie. But the part for you, Kathleen, is does this require manual entry for each client within the system you use, CCH access, need to have fees updated in CCH each year? And so, there's a perfect segue to talk about maybe Connect on how we're able to ingest, QuickFee is able to ingest client data. And then the other part, Jamie, is, where, after Kathleen can answer that, where is it pulling the forms, et cetera, from? Is the previous tax return? So I'll give it to Kathleen first, then Jamie can finish it up there.
So yeah, so as far as the CCH Access, actually that's one of the integrations that we do have. We have integrations with, you know, the largest practice management systems. So whether it's CCH Access, Pro System FX, Thomson Reuters Practice CS, or Iris. If you have one of those, we're able to do the integration between CCH Access, QuickFee, and then you have the Knuula part as well for engagement. Like I said earlier, your clients and contacts, your source of truth would be in Access. So we ingest all of that information. So we ingest your invoice, your clients, your contacts, your AR balance, all that gets ingested. And with Access, it's every 4 hours due to their APIs. So it gets adjusted every 4 hours. And so we keep that up to date. And so it's not like you're entering the information manually, because we're grabbing that information through the integration. And that integration is through our Connect platform, which is that's just an integration that we have that with the different practice management systems. And then you hook in the engagement letters on top of that. And I think the next one, Jamie, is for you.
Oh, yeah.
So what happens with
and I think there was, I guess, the fees. I think a part of that question was the question was more referring to the fee stated in the engagement letter. So I don't know if Jamie, you want to take that, or I think
Sure.
that's the additional fees within the billing, I think, from CCH.
For sure. So that information would come during the uploading process, which we do help with as well. So Kathleen mentioned some CCH integrations and things like that. We are working on making all of that come through Knuula as well. But you can also, there's ways that we can recombine that information. So you upload, or we upload it for you, and basically start at 100%, where those tax projects and things like that are already in your client database. So you guys would basically start from that spot. In terms of the actual fees. So one thing I probably should have noted a little bit better is that not all firms put fees into their engagement letters to start out. Totally normal. The good thing about Knuula is that basically, if you do a fee, it's going to change the language that shows up in the engagement letter and say, hey, we're charging you this much money for this year. If you leave that out, it would be a conditional paragraph that would just show like hourly default language or something like that, just to make sure everybody knows that you don't have to put fees in to make this work. The good thing about the Knuula and QuickFee integration as a whole is that, we're super flexible in that if you fill out information for your client, it changes the content of this document. And what we're doing on the whole is making it so there are different ways and different times that you can have your client pay you money. Is the big picture there. So if you have a client who's a little bit risky and you're not so sure, maybe they're new, and you want to include a retainer fee in your engagement letter, boom, now you can, and it's conditional. So you could do it for 6 clients out of 100, and it's going to show up for those 6 clients only. And then, so you don't have to have the fees. If you want to, they can be in there. And you can also, on Knuula, there's ways to do it in bulk. So if you want to take all your clients on Knuula and you want to, pick 60% of them and increase all of their fees from one year to the next by 3.7%, you could do that, and you could round to the nearest $25. So, something like that. So you basically have the ability to do this stuff in bulk, whatever it is, change fees, change services, and then send them engagement letters. And sometimes they pay a retainer, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're paying through an invoice on Knuula, sometimes it's an invoice through QuickFee. It just gives you guys the flexibility to do what's best for your clients.
Awesome. Thank you. Great question. Kathleen, did you have anything else that you wanted to add to that? No.
Good.
Awesome. So appreciate the questions coming in. We do have a few more time if anyone wants to ask any questions, but I did want to get each of your kind of, if we don't have any questions, some of your final kind of recommendations or thoughts on, throughout this whole process of automation and engagement letters and, your client satisfaction, your client experience. What is one thing each of you can kind of share with the audience on, what do you feel is the ideal method in being successful in automation for you, Kathleen, and then Jamie from like a client experience point of view. Before we do that question, there is one more that came in. Thank you, Christy, that I want to address really quick. So what does the roll forward look like in in year 2 of sending out the letters? Does it retain the customization by the client? And then that's for Jamie. And then there's another one that came through. You showed invoicing. Is that from Knuula and then integrated into the practice management? I'll give that to Kathleen. So Jamie, if you want to answer the rolling 2-year one.
Yes, great question. And yes, it's really easy. So the good part about Knuula is you have a database of client information. And based on that data, that's what's going into the engagement letter. So now come year 2, all you have to do is just select those same clients, select whichever engagement letter you want to send them, and all of that prior information is just going to go into this new engagement letter. So then the question is like, okay, what about dates? So like, what if every single client had 2023 partnership tax engagement letter or whatever? We have things for updating in bulk. So you could basically go and replace for all of your clients, anywhere where it says 2023, you could roll that forward to be 2024. Same thing for like year end. So if we're talking like audit engagement letters or something like that, where you guys have the actual year end as a field for all of your clients, you can go in there and you can say, hey, roll everybody forward by 1 year. And so if you have a June 30 year end for 2022, it's going to roll forward to 23 or 24, whatever it is. And the 12/31 standard one is going to roll forward by 1 year. So we have things for doing all of that roll forward stuff in bulk. And it literally would take you probably like 2 minutes to roll forward like all of your clients and all of the services you offer.
That's amazing. That's super valuable automation right there. And then Kathleen, just you've kind of showed this a little bit, but it was the invoicing. Is that from Knuula and then integrated into the practice management?
Yeah.
Just clarification there.
Yeah, I think when Jamie was showing it, it was actually invoiced from Knuula. But it does, regardless, if it's a retainer. So normally a retainer, you would normally have a invoice at that stage. It's just an invoice coming from Knuula. So when that does actually, it comes through QuickFee, it is a payment. We do fund it to you. And then it does go back into the practice management system because you do have to account for it. When it goes back into the practice management system, whether whatever practice management system that you're with, it goes to client on account unless you already have an invoice. If you have an invoice, then you can go ahead and match it to the invoice that you already created. You may have an invoice that you created, or if not, it'll go to client on account or like a retainer. But it does go back into the practice management system. And it also goes back to Knuula.
Wonderful. Great question. Thanks, Christy and Harry, for those questions. There's another great question that just came in by Todd. Our clients are struggling with sign-in fatigue. Are you looking at options that would bundle other basic services under one sign-in, such as e-sign for their documents, file sharing, list management, etc.?
I'll take that one. That actually has come up several times. And I agree with you, Todd. I mean, clients are fatigued. They, actually I was talking to a firm yesterday, and one of their challenges is they're like, oh, I have all these sign-ins. I have, the clients go into this portal and that portal, and, and so that is something that we're looking into as to, how can we have a single sign-on? We don't have that yet, but it is something that we're looking into so that you only have one spot to go to, and then you can just sign in and I'll go to the different portals. Great enhancement, great idea, and it's something that we're looking into.
I'll add on the Knuula side. So your clients don't have like a login or anything for when you send them the engagement letters. So they just get a link in their email. The email itself is going to be branded to your firm, so it looks like it's like your firm's colors and things like that. But the client doesn't actually have to like have a password or anything like that. The other thing we do for certain firms, if you come early and don't ask for this in December, but we can do white labeling, so we can make it come directly from your firm, the actual email. So then it's literally like you just sending your client an email. Just a quick note on that.
That's
Are you
awesome.
saying that, Jamie, that December is a very busy time for you?
Yeah. My life is terrible in December and January. If anyone wants to sign up, move forward in August, we give you like $1,000 off. Like that's how.
Oh wow, that's a great benefit. I don't know if everybody heard that just on the call. Sign up now.
Yeah, it's being recorded, so people can go back and call you this on it. But in closing, each of you, I know there's so much technology out there. There's so many different types of solutions out there. Could each of you give, 2 things? One, how can everyone reach you after this webinar is done? But also, what is one recommendation you can give to someone that's looking to expand their tech stack or looking at all the technology that exists out there? What is one thing that would be helpful for them to follow and kind of a guiding light? I'll start with you, Kathleen, if you'd like to.
Okay, well, I can answer the first one really easily. You can reach me at Kathleen@quickfee.com. So that's fairly easy. And I'm always looking for enhancement requests. One of the things is, we want to make sure that we are providing you with not only automation. I think, Raphael, you said it, when you're looking at different systems, yes, we want automation, but you want effective automation. And I think that's what we do. We look at, great, how can we automate things? But we want to make sure that automation and that integration that we're giving you is effective. It's going to save you time. It's going to help you in the long run. And so it's a key thing. So anytime you're looking at different integrations, really dig into what does that automation look like. So I think that's one thing I would, my little bit of advice for the firms was just to really look at the automation.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. On my side, I'm putting my email in the chat. So there's that. Jamie, JAMIE @Knuula.com. It's in the chat. Hopefully you guys can see that. The one thing I would add, it's kind of actually based on something Kathleen said earlier, and it's just something Knuula and QuickFee talk about all the time. And it's this concept of like best in breed, like best in class, like softwares, and try to work them together. And why that's better play than like the kind of monolithic approach of there's this one giant Thomson Reuters whatever software that does every single thing under the sun. And so like on that, like I'd love to kind of like explain like a little bit about why this makes more sense, this best in class approach. It really comes down to 20 years ago, the software that came out was so simple compared to software that is coming out now. And so 20 years ago, it made sense if you basically came out with a calculator app, it could be the best one on the internet, and that you could, that was amazing. That's what software was 20 years ago. And now what's happening is software is so much more technical and industry specific and service specific. And so you basically just have way better software now for certain categories. But then, so one, like we do engagement letters, we're obviously heavily focused on that. QuickFee does AR and all of that, and they're heavily focused on that. So truthfully, like if you have a software company who is 100% focused on one vertical, or, and like one specific thing, they're going to be better at it than a software company that's offering 7 different things, because that company is basically a C+ across the board versus us, which we're an A+ at engagement letters. QuickFee is an A+ at AR and payment processing. And so like it just makes more sense in today's world that you go find the best in class software applications and kind of try to tie them together as best as possible. Because it's just changed. I mean, it's just changed completely in the last 20 years. What is good software? It's just so much different.
Yeah, no, really, really good points. I think the final points off to that is, that's, I think, where the synergy comes between QuickFee and Knuula, is that we're both building based off of client needs and client centricity. We're very heavily client centric and building off of that, as opposed to kind of boiling the ocean and trying to be everything to everyone. And, and I think that's a really good point. I think also just making sure that you have a lot of intellectual curiosity within the firm, that you are also you have a plan of what do we want to do within the firm and build out within the firm, and then start from there. The best way to do that is to learn from your own clients and then start to build out from there what tech stacks you want to implement within your firms. And so we have one last question here before we sign off. What does setup look like for QuickFee and Knuula, like from an implementation standpoint? And so I don't know if either of you want to take that one really quickly before we sign off.
I mean, I can take the Knuula side. So Knuula's onboarding process, it's generally 2 weeks from end to end, and you barely do anything. First thing we do is we take your current engagement letters, we put them on Knuula, so it's exactly what you guys already use. Like it's not our engagement letters, it's your exact engagement letters. Then we go through them and we see where things are changing in those engagement letters, and we build out a database that matches that. So, if your firm does, street address as one thing, and then say state and zip as another thing, that is how your database would look. If you do full address, then that's how it would look. Same with tax forms, tax services, CAS, whatever it is. Like, your database will match what you guys do. After that, we put test data on there. Then we meet with you. We do a review meeting and basically get you to say yes, no on different aspects of what we've tailored for you. And then from that point forward, you're pretty much good to go. But we will meet for training and things like that. So I would say it takes about like maybe an hour and a half total of your time to get onboarded. It takes a lot of our time, but that's okay. And that's our process.
Yeah. And then from the QuickFee process, you just have to let us know if you are a QuickFee customer and you don't have Knuula, then you reach out to your RM and we'll get you connected with Jamie. And then you go through that process. And then there's nothing on our end. Jamie gets with us and gives us the information that we need. And then that's it. So there's nothing on our end that we would have to, or nothing on your end that you would have to do from a QuickFee perspective.
Great question. And that's certainly white glove treatment all around. So
That's right.
Thank you everyone so much for your time and being, staying with us this session. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ping myself, Jamie, or Kathleen, and we'll be happy to follow up with you all. But with that, thank you so much, and we hope you all have a great day.